Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Exploring the Lord of the Rings. This is session 353, and tonight we're now able to start counting down Gandalf's speeches. Basically, we are getting close. This is the seventh to last passage tonight. We have 7 slides. The great confrontation on the Bridge of Khazad-dûm is the 7th slide from tonight, with tonight's being number 1. So we're getting there. And Gandalf, of course, will have a big speech, which we're all looking forward to talking about. Tonight, we will see Gandalf's penultimate note of optimism. Gandalf will express Umdir for the penultimate time about their escaping. So, yes, as JJ says, it's sort of like the countdown to the ball dropping on New Year's, but instead of a ball, it's Gandalf. Exactly. Yep. That is exactly what it's like. Anyway, so that's where we are, and we're going to be, and so make sure everybody can be prepared to pay very special attention tonight, because we're going to get some very detailed directions about how to escape from Moria. But before we do that, just a couple things. First, to note that we are it's almost November, which means it is almost time for our last Moot of the fall season. November 14th through 16th is Ranger Moot out near Cincinnati. We're having our outdoor Moot. We're going to be doing a bunch of really fun things. We're going to be doing outdoor activities and reenactments and fun discussions and talks and all kinds of really cool things going on. Possibly we will recapitulate the most remarkable fire pit we've ever talked around. The people at the folks at the Boy Scout camp heard that we like to hang out around the fire of an evening, so they built a fire. Seriously, the wood was stacked 10 feet high. The flames were 20 feet in the air. It was crazy. It was much more like the beacons. Really, honestly, I don't think, it was on lower ground than the beacons of Gondor, but I don't think the beacons of Gondor were larger. Yeah, right. Jared's Fire just posted a picture. It was quite something. But anyway, so maybe we'll recapitulate that again. So that's happening again, middle of November, November 14th to 16th. This is our camping Moot. So you can come and you can do tent camping, you can do cabin camping. There are hotels nearby that you can stay at if you'd rather do that and drive in. Any of those things is possible for Ranger Moot. But I'm excited and looking forward to seeing folks there. In addition, we have, as Adam, our regional Moot coordinator, was just saying right before we began, we have now a couple of our spring Moots, which have officially been announced. We have Osmoot, of course, Osmoot is the turning of the tide, right? The middle of our Moot year, down at the end of January in Canberra this year. Excited to get back down to Australia for Osmoot. And then we have Sunshine Moot, and that one, remind me, Adam, is on the 7th of March, I believe. March 7th is Sunshine Moot in Florida. Yeah. And then April 4 for Tex Moot. So we have Sunshine Moot and Tex Moot officially announced and registration open. April 11th. It was close. April 11th. April 11th is Tex Moot. March 7th is Sunshine Moot. And we're going to get Mountain Moot coming again in Denver. We're going to go to Willow Moot again, going back to Belgium this year. So we'll be back in Europe again in a few months. That's going to be in May, I believe. Anyway, so Lots of fun moot and yet more. There are rumors of SoCal Moot. Yep, no, Balinor, SoCal Moot is in the works. So Captain Mo will be in Leuven, Belgium again. Oh, SoCal Moot is open. Look at that. It's already there. There we are. That one's February, right? I think that one's February. So yeah, we have Osmoot in January. We have SoCal Moot down in Carlsbad, California in February. And then we have Sunshine Moot in March. And then we have Tex Moot in April. And then we have Mountain Moot and Willow Moot both in May. And then Myth Moot. Right, February 7th is SoCal Moot. So there we go. Fun, packed Moot season for the spring. Which will be delightful. One other event that I wanted to make sure that you guys knew about, that is coming up much sooner. That is the day after tomorrow. The day after tomorrow, Thursday, October 30th, the night before Halloween. I keep almost saying the night before Thanksgiving. Halloween, wrong holiday. The night before Halloween, on All Hallows Eve, I will be holding a special event at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. This is going to be the launch event for our fall fundraising campaign, the Signum University fall fundraising campaign for 2025. So I'm going to be explaining all about our fall campaign, how it's going to work, what's going to be going on, the kinds of things that we're going to be focusing on. I'm going to be talking a little bit about our vision for the future of Signum University and where we're trying to go and what we've accomplished with all of the support that so many of you have given to us over the years. The fall fundraising campaign is the time when I just love to thank people for all of their generosity towards Signum over the years. So that is the fall fundraising campaign is starting this very week, this coming Thursday. So this Thursday, October 30th, is when we're officially launching that. So you can tune in at 9 p.m. to learn all about the campaign and all the stuff that's going on. And in addition, I'm going to do a special fun thing. I'm going to do, for the first time online, I've done this at regional moots before, but for the first time online, I'm going to do my randomized literary discussion game, where I roll dice in order to choose a totally random and unknown to me, unplanned by me passage of the Lord of the Rings. And we're going to have a discussion of that passage. And then we're going to roll another passage and compare the two of them together and see what we see. It is a delightful opportunity just for like unexpected discovery and spontaneous discussion. And I really love doing it. So I hope that you guys will tune in for that. Again, it's going to come right after I'll do, my initial launch discussion and explaining what's going on with the campaign. And then we will go straight into randomized literary discussion after that. Which will be great fun. So that's what's happening on Thursday evening. I will also add that soon after that, this coming Saturday, November 1st, I'm going to be holding one of the now long-running annual traditions as part of our fall fundraising campaign. I have done a Lord of the Rings online marathon broadcast every year for many years now as part of our fall fundraising campaign. I am going to be running that. I'm going to be doing that marathon this coming Saturday, starting at noon Eastern time and going until midnight-ish or a little bit after that. I'm not going to be doing a chicken run, Balinor. I'm going to be, for some reason, I haven't gotten invited to do a chicken run ever since, ever since the whole stealth Mumak incident, which was totally not my fault. But in any case, we're going to be, what we're going to do is I'm going to be running my Guardian, my oldest character. I'm running the epic line. And so that means that during this stream, I'm going to be going through parts of the Lord of the Rings online world and their adaptation, their story, that I've never seen in my life before. So I'll be charging ahead into new terrain, following the epic quest line. Where I am in the game, what I'm going to be playing this Saturday is Gundabad. I'm going to be doing as much of the Gundabad. I'm almost up to the beginning of the Gundabad plotline, and I'm going to be doing as much of it as I can get through in a day, basically. Anyway, that is what I'm going to be doing on Saturday, starting at noon, 12 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday. All right. Let's get back to the text and see what Gandalf has to say here. They now went on again. Before long, Gimli spoke. He had keen eyes in the dark. I think, he said, that there is a light ahead, but it is not daylight. It is red. What can it be? Gosh, muttered Gandalf. I wonder if that is what they meant, that the lower levels are on fire? Still, we can only go on. Soon the light became unmistakable and could be seen by all. It was flickering and glowing on the walls away down the passage before them. They could now see their way. In front, the road sloped down swiftly, and some way ahead there stood a low archway. Through it the glowing light came. The air became very hot. When they came to the arch, Gandalf went through, signing to them to wait. As he stood just beyond the opening, they saw his face lit by a red glow. Quickly he stepped back. There is some new devilry here, he said, devised for our welcome, no doubt. But I know now where we are. We have reached the first deep, the level immediately below the gates. This is the second hall of Old Moria, and the gates are near, away beyond the eastern end, on the left, not more than a quarter of a mile, across the bridge, up a broad stair, along a wide road, through the first hall, and out. But come and look. All right. So, one of this, I admit that as much as I'm looking forward to getting to the Bridge of Khazad-dûm, I've actually been really looking forward. This is one of these few passages here are one of the things that I've been really looking forward to discussing, because I feel like I have never really understood the dynamics of Moria. That is, of what's happening here at the end. We've not really finished discussing what happened up at the Chamber of Mizarbo. I'm not going back in the text, but when were they detected? What was the plan? What's the plan now? Gandalf suggests that the flames in front of them are some new devilry devised for our welcome. Devised for our welcome suggests it's part of a plan, right? Now, Valinor, I was just going to get to that. We might as well start with Gandalf's speech here at the end. Valinor was asking about the word devilry, which seems out of place in Middle-earth. Almost. It is used. This is not its only usage in The Lord of the Rings. The other place, which some of you may remember, is at Helm's Deep. They have brought a devilry from Orthanc, a blasting fire, and with it they took the wall. Some new devilry. Yes, Sam uses it also. So devilry does seem to point to oh, that's interesting, Bob. Serge Tolkien says it's used 12 times in The Lord of the Rings. That's more than I would have expected. I knew it was used several times, but that's more often than I would have guessed. That's really interesting. What madness or devilry is this? Yes. Yes. Wait, is it 12 times in The Lord of the Rings itself? Okay, good. Just checking. And yes, you're exactly right, Luke. We're going to get to it soon. Sam's usage of it. When Sam looks in Galadriel's mirror, he is going to say there's some devilry at work in the Shire. Yeah, yeah. One's in the index. Okay, well, that hardly counts now, does it? Um, okay. Interesting. That's really great. Um, the word devilry. So, first of all, let's just back up for a minute and think about the word before we think about its usages, right? Um, devilry, meaning something that might be done by a devil. It suggests something both evil and supernatural. I mean, the concept of, on the one hand, the concept of devils, I certainly can understand why one might think it doesn't sound like a particularly middle earth word. And that is principally because of the associations that we have, like the modern associations with devils, right? That is the devil used as a name or a title, would, like, if you think of the word in that sense, then that word is explicitly within a Christian context, and that's what feels weird about it, right? But I think it's fairly clear that Tolkien is not using it in that specific term, and Fencing Frog, I think that that's a perfectly valid association to be making. The word demon is one not in the text that I recall, but certainly in his letters. He talks about the Balrogs as demons, right? So it's yeah. Anyhow, yeah. So it's thinking about it in a more kind of generic sense, right? But yeah, let's actually start with that. Those of you who have Search Tolkien up already, in fact, hang on, let's actually just do this. Give me a second here. That's not what I meant to do. That always happens. Okay. Let me. Okay. Here we are on the Search Tolkien site. This is a fun game to play. Search.digitaltolkien.com, part of the Digital Tolkien Project, which has marvelous resources. Search Tolkien is great. So let's look up the word devil. Now, James Tauber, who runs Search Tolkien, doesn't have permission, of course, to use like the full text. So he doesn't give long quotations, but he gives citations. So we see that the word devil only occurs once in the Lord of the Rings, and we can see just like a little bit of it. Hang on. Yeah, if we click on this. So we're in Book 6, Chapter 2. So this is with Sam. This is Sam talking about the orc, right, who whipped Frodo. He calls him a devil. Yes. I'm sure that's what that is. By the way, I say this is a fun game. This is one of my favorite games. One of my favorite games is to look up random words on Search Tolkien, and then just try to remember, like by the citation, try to remember the sentence that it's used in. But I'm pretty sure that that's when the word devil by itself is used. Yeah, the orc who whipped Frodo. Yes, I'll have that big slave-driving devil anyway, he thought. Exactly. Now, that's a metaphorical usage by Sam. So, we have to... sorry, I forgot I got to position this properly. That's a metaphorical usage by Sam. So we have to think about what it's a metaphor of. What it suggests when he talks about that big slave-driving devil, it is the malice and wickedness of the orc. that he is that he's invoking, right? In calling him. Now, so the word devil, we're only getting one usage of it here in the Lord of the Rings. Are there no, devilry. Yes, hang on. We're getting there. Before we get to devilry, devilry is clearly dependent on the concept of devil, right? So I wanted to let's look up devils, plural. Okay, there we go. Because it matters, right? This is a digital search, so it matters. And yes, actually, hang on. Let's look up the plural. Can we get apostrophe s, or it's that brings up the same? Okay, it doesn't. All right, so here we go. Book 4, chapter 10. Let's see, book 4, chapter 10. That's Sam again. Let's see. In this devil's murk, he's talking about it's Shelob's lair, right? Sam talking about if anything can pierce through this devil's murk. Book 5. Yes, Captain Mo, it is really interesting that the Balrog has a whip also, right? That seems like that kind of might be a theme. Okay. Book 5, chapter 5. So where are we now? We're in Gondor. Oh, that's the Houses of Healing, of course. Those murdering devils. That's Yorith. Yes. Yes, that's Yorith. Talking about letting those, haven't let those, her initial resistance to having any of the warriors just come traipsing here into the Houses of Healing in her jurisdiction, right? Those murdering devils. That's really interesting. That's a fascinating, that's a really fascinating usage of devils. Then again in chapter 8. So book 5, chapter 8. Now, let's see. I don't remember that one. Good, Kurtzimus. That is a really interesting, an interesting trend. Kurtzimus is saying, no, commoner language. So far, it's Sam and Eorith who are using the word devil, right? Isn't that interesting? See what happens when you play this game? Really? Oh, sorry. Chapter 8 was Eorith. Right. Chapter 8 was Eorith. Which one was chapter 5 then? Which one was chapter 5? Chapter 5 must be, what is that? It's the Rod of the Rohirrim, right? Elfhelm to Merry. Right. That's the Devil's Murk one. Yes. Okay. Yes. That's the Devil's Murk one. The book 4 one is, so hang on. I'm getting them confused in my head. If anything can pierce this Devil's Murk, that's Elfhelm to Merry talking about the Dawnless Day. Chapter 8 is a Yorith, those murdering devils. Book 4, chapter 10 is Sam talking about orcs again? Yeah. Okay. Yep. They've got him the devils, the filth. Never leave your master, never, never. Yeah. He just throws it out as a slur on the orcs, basically. Okay. Sam, Eorith, and Elfhelm. Elfhelm is the which of these things is not like the other, because Elfhelm is fairly noble, asterisk, for Rohirrim, who are already middlemen, anyway. He's noble-ish. Yeah, agreed. He's fairly, again, on the Rohirric scale, he's pretty high, actually. But, but it is on the Rohirric scale. Yeah, speaking in the Rohirric register, absolutely, absolutely. Um, uh, okay. Anyway, sorry. We'll keep going here. Oh, that's it. Those are our usages. Um, 3 in the Lord of the Rings, and then we get the Silmarillion, chapter 19. Quentus Silmarillion 19. Goodness, 19. Is that? No, that's not. Yeah, that's. But no wizardry nor spell, neither fang nor venom, nor devil's art, nor beast strength could overthrow Huon of Valinor. And he took his foe by the throat and pinned him down. So the devil in question, thank you, Auru, in that case, is Sauron. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Okay. Interesting. Twice in Baron and Luthien. Jackie, which leads me to suspect that he was in a devilry frame of mind when writing the Lay of Lathian. I wonder if that has to do with his the register of the poem, to which I think a great deal of the prose accounts they owe a great deal to that. Anyway, okay, but we still haven't gotten to the main event. Let's look up devilry. Okay, it's in chapter 13 of The Hobbit. When does he? Hang on. Chapter 13 of The Hobbit. It's got to be about Smaug, right? Yeah, that's in Not at Home. Smaug is up to some devilry. Yes, exactly. In the silence, they feared some cunning devilry of his. Yeah, that's what I thought. They're attributing, or they're suspecting, devilry of Smaug. And that one is a really interesting example, because you'll notice they're not, I don't believe, though I guess we can't be 100% sure, I don't think that they're expecting magic from Smaug there. But they are, but yes, Maureen, good, well noticed that this is another conjunction between cunning and devilry. Cunning and devilry are now twice associated. So devilry might just be some kind of trick, but certainly a malicious trick, right? Okay, but now in the Lord of the Rings, where do we get devilry? Well, here. Right. So the first, this is the first one in the Lord of the Rings, right? This is tonight's passage, book 2, chapter 5. Book 2, chapter 7 is the one we've already talked about. Sam saying there's some devilry going on in the Shire. Ooh, lots of it in. See, book 3, that's where we're getting it more than I thought. Oh, wow. Okay, that's really interesting. The Devilry of Saruman by Aragorn, that one I remembered. They had a devilry, and with it they took the walls. So both of those are in Helm's Deep, about the blasting fire. Right, chapter 8, Saruman is brewing some devilry to greet us. That's the steam rising, right, that they see in the distance. The blasting fire with which they took the walls was a devilry. The steam in the distance looks like it might be a devilry that Saruman is again brewing, boiling, right? He's brewing a devilry. The brewing is like metaphorical, and then it like is kind of not metaphorical, like he's boiling something, right? So it might actually be brewing. Of course. Gandalf to Pippin. Yes, when Pippin looks into the stone. The devilry. What mischief has he done to himself and to all of us? Yes. The devilry. Yep. That's the chapter 11 one. What's the chapter 9 one? Okay, so that must be, let's see, Aru, the one that you just quoted must be from book 5, chapter 4. Busy as ants, hurrying orcs were digging lines of deep trenches in a huge ring just out of bowshot from the walls, and as the trenches were made, each was filled with fire, though how it was kindled or fed by art or devilry, none could see. Two alternatives. It was perhaps fueled by art, or maybe it was fueled by devilry. Yes. And of course, Éomer. Éowyn, how came you here? What madness or devilry is this? Yes. Yes. And yes, art as an option, just like in Beren and Luthien. Yes. Neither art nor devilry could injure Huan either. Yes. Good. Okay, so at the beginning of book 6, right, when we return to Frodo and Sam. So book 6, chapter 1. Sam shuddered and tried to force himself to move. This is Sam coming back to consciousness, right? There was plainly some devilry going on. Perhaps in spite of all orders, the cruelty of the orcs had mastered them, and they were tormenting Frodo or even savagely hacking him to pieces. Yes. And Lord of Salamandasteron, I agree with you when he has paired art and devilry like that together. What he means, art is natural skill, devilry is by some kind of magic. Yeah, I agree. I think that's exactly like whether they just like they had some kind of art to make the fire spring up like they did, or whether it was done through some kind of black magic or sorcery. That is definitely what is being there. And good. And Sam also talks about the devilry at the gate. That is to say, the Watchers. Yeah. Good. Good. Yeah. Excellent. So I am indulging a little bit. Word studies like this are really fun. But I wanted to do this because I think this is a really important skill. Whenever you come across a word like this, and I agree, that's a strange word. There is some new devilry here devised for our welcome. When you're trying to answer the question, what does that mean? Like, what does he mean by devilry? Absolutely the first thing you have to do, like the thing you have to resist is just like making associations, right? That is to say, it's not a good way to try to answer the question, what does Tolkien mean by devilry here? It's not a good way to just like, what does that word evoke to you? And like bring in those associations here, right? That's when we start getting kind of all over the place, right? But the number one thing to do, right? The number one thing to do is to look for other usages. How does Tolkien use this word elsewhere? Look at all of those passages and begin to see patterns, like some of the patterns that we were already discussing. What are the patterns that we see? It is interesting to me that the word devil seems to be used more often by lower class, like, you know, the blue collar folks, right? The lower class folks. But devilry is not. Devilry is used by Éomer and Aragorn and Gandalf, right? So devilry seems to be in a kind of a different place. But simply saying, you devils, like Eorth says, those murdering devils, or Sam when he's talking about the orcs. Yeah, Jackie, I agree. I think that devilry is a word that is clearly in the hero speak idiom. 100%. 100%. So again, what does it mean? It means it's associated clearly with, it's only said of evil things. That might seem obvious, but it's good to confirm, right? We don't want to just make assumptions. The contrasting with art, I think, is really important, right? By art or by devilry. That pairing we see more than once, not twice in The Lord of the Rings, but once in the Silmarillion and once in The Lord of the Rings. And that does suggest that devilry is given as an alternative to natural skill. It refers to action or mechanism. Yes. And remember, it's also associated with cunning as well. So, Jackie, I think that many of these things kind of triangulate towards the machine. Cunning, to some extent, malicious disregard, at the very least, right, is often associated with machines in Tolkien. If not often, destructiveness, right? So yeah, it all kind of comes together there in some ways. But again, but I wouldn't lean on that very heavily. Like, I think it wouldn't be right when we read devilry to be thinking, oh, he's thinking about machinery here. I think that's a step beyond. I think that it's true that the things that he's thinking of when he thinks of devilry are similar to the things that he's thinking of when he thinks of machines. But I don't think he's alluding to machines. In fact, even with Saruman, it isn't in either case, in any of the cases, it's not actually machinery that's ever being referred to. The blasting fire. Saruman has a blasting fire, and with it he took the walls. Aragorn calls it a devilry. I love the use of the indefinite article with it, by the way. He brought a devilry. They have brought a devilry from Orthanc. I love that. But he calls it a devilry clearly because he believes that it was magic, right? It was some sorcery that just happened. And I would urge you to recall that the interpretation of that as the development of gunpowder by Saruman is a totally film-based interpretation. I'm not saying it's an interpretation that is absolutely impossible to reconcile with the book, but I am saying there is, if you automatically think that they're referring to gunpowder there, you are thinking of the film and not the book. So I would be very, very careful about that. Again, it is very clear that Aragorn believes it to be sorcery, as is true of almost when Sam says there's devilry at the gate, when he's referring to the Watchers. There's something magic happening there, right? There's sorcery afoot there. Anyway, yeah. So, Captain Mo, yes, goblins were credited with inventing gunpowder and heavy munitions and things like that, things for blowing things up. in The Hobbit. Yeah, that is correct. Anyhow, when Gandalf says, therefore, there is some new devilry here, think of the associations with devilry. There is some new devilry here devised for our welcome. Remember, that's almost exactly the same context of what was said of Saruman when they saw the steam rising from the wizard's veil. He is brewing some devilry for our welcome. Right? So both the associations between both the associations with black magic, with evil magic, with Morgul, literally, and the associations with cunning, both of those seem relevant here. Remember what Gandalf just said. I wonder if that's what they meant about Chosh, fire. He overheard the word fire. Remember the orcs in the room. I wonder if that's what they meant, that the lower levels are on fire. How can the lower levels be on fire? Has someone set fire to the stone tunnels? Anyway, it seems weird, right? So hang on, guys, let's bring it in from, like, we're not talking about Helm's Deep today, so stop it. Stop talking about Helm's Deep. We're back here now, right? We're bringing in all that relevant information, and we're coming back here. Anyway, it's a little weird. Caves don't normally just catch fire like this. So when Gandalf says there is some new devilry here, Nerdo Sapiens, I think that's exactly right. I think that we can conclude that Gandalf suspects that this is magical fire, that there's some sorcery at work here. At the very least, there has certainly been something cunning that is being done. Devised for our welcome, no doubt, he says with hobbitish sarcasm. Right? However, it's working against them. Notice that? So far, it is working against them. The cunning, malicious, and possibly sorcerous plans of their enemies are working in the favor of the good guys. Because now they have light. Now they can see. And Gandalf knows where they are now. He has gotten his bearings. But I now know where we are. We have reached the first deep. The level immediately below the gates. We are almost there. He has in fact led them right in the pitch darkness after being nearly destroyed. Gilgalady, you are so right. Oft evil will doth evil mar. That many times is seen, right? He knows that they are in the second hall of Old Moria, and the gates are near. Away beyond the eastern end of the second hall in which they are, on the left, not more than a quarter of a mile. I love on the left. Go to the east end, bang a left, quarter mile, cross the bridge, up a broad stair, along a wide road, through the first hall and out. Now, on the one hand, this sounds very complicated, right? But on the other hand, what he's telling them is not, okay, take careful note. You got to take your second left, right? And then the third right. It's not like the directions. Remember Gollum trying to find the back door, right? He's counting the tunnels and being like, how many lefts and how many rights? This is fencing frog. This is a clear path. what he's actually communicating, he is telling them about what to expect so that they can like get landmarks. End of the hall, bridge, stair, wide road, first hall, gates, out. But what he's telling them is go. Like if you go, like not only are we almost there, but you guys could find it all by yourself. It's a straight line. I'm not 100% sure exactly what he means by on the left. Beyond the eastern end on the left. That is, are there two exits from the second hall? And you have to take the left one? I'm not really completely sure. But he doesn't even say turn left there. He just says it's on the left at the end of the eastern end. So, okay. But in any case, again, all of the, other than that one little slightly ambiguous to me on the left thing, across the bridge, up a stair, along a wide road, through the first hall, and out. That's just, then go straight. Then go straight. I love the comments you guys were just making. Fencing Frog was saying it's the clear path that Boromir was looking for, right? Well, that he will be looking for, right? A plain road. This isn't exactly a plain road, but it is a straight path, right? Gildolwyn, absolutely. You can't miss it. The gates are right that way. So this is both an encouragement. We're very close. A quarter of a mile is not far at all. And it's just the one way, the one path. And the path is easy. There's the bridge, which has issues, but broad stair, wide road, through the hall and out, right? Yeah. So I think that the like simplicity of these directions are themselves a kind of encouragement, right? Yeah. Even his identifications. I love this is the second hall of Old Moria. There's something like very slightly tour guidey about that, which is just sort of delightful under the circumstances. Like they don't actually need to know what this hall was called, but he's still contextualizing it in that way. This is the second hall of Old Moria. I think, though, he is still basically saying, let me try to convey even more like real confidence that I know exactly where we are. Okay. Let's go back up a little ways. By the way, did you notice the alliteration in Gandalf's speech that we've been talking about low this time? It's even on our word. There is some new devilry here, devised for our welcome, no doubt. Love it. Gimli first sees the light ahead. There's a light ahead, but it's not daylight. What can it be? And Gandalf immediately is like, wait, I have a theory. Gosh. By simply quoting the word in the Black speech, he recalls his reference to it, right? He recalls the fact that he overheard them talking about fire. His theory that the lower levels are on fire is a strange theory. Again, like, I don't know exactly what that means or how that would work, that the lower levels could be on fire. It's not that you can never have fires in caves, but again, caves don't usually burn down. It just doesn't usually happen. Still, we can only go on, says Gandalf. So remember, it's that question, like, are we going to end up trapped? Are we going forward into fire? And his sort of determination, like, we can't exactly turn around, right? All we can do is go on and see. And then what happens? Gandalf goes through alone. They come to an arch. They see the light. The light became unmistakable and could be seen by all, flickering and glowing on the walls. So we get this confirmation that it's fire. The word flickering is very suggestive. And glowing on the walls, away down the passage before them. They could now see their way. In front, the road sloped down swiftly. Remember, this is the first thing that they have seen since they left the chamber of Mizarble. They've been in pitch darkness ever since then. They could now see their way. In front, the road sloped down swiftly, and some way ahead there stood a low archway. Through it, the growing light came. The air became very hot. Once again, notice all of the emphasis on the different sense. We're getting visual sensory input, right? And we're getting lots of confirmation, though, again, the narrator isn't telling us anything. He's just telling us what they perceive. Confirmation after confirmation. Yes, there's fire. Yes, there's fire. Through it, the growing light came. Green Great Dragon, I agree that growing light is great. And of course, it's also kind of scary under the circumstances. Gandalf has raised the possibility that the lower levels are on fire. Is the fire growing? Are they moving towards a spreading flame? Is the light growing, or is it only growing because they're approaching it? Or volcanic action, conceivably, though I'm not sure, because the flickering leads me to think it's flames rather than volcanic action. But it's possible. Yes, for weeks now, in our Lotro field trips after class, at the end of our discussion, we have been exploring the part of Moria, so that, they built out all of Moria in Lord of the Rings Online, and part of it is called the Flaming Deeps. So there's all this whole part of it that's on fire. And I agree. I think it's this passage that they basically drew inspiration from. The lower levels are on fire. Gandalf says, I wonder if the lower levels are on fire. So Lotro is like, hey, what if the lower levels are on fire? So they made the Flaming Deeps. And they are some of the deepest layers in Moria. So it's clear. I think it's fairly clear that line there, this line, is the one that the developers were thinking of. Yeah. But Fencing Frog, I was thinking the same thing, that the light of the fire probably helps the party more than it helps the orcs. Absolutely. Yes. Now, I agree with the several of you who are talking about how dangerous mine fires can be. Totally. Yeah. No, that can be completely terrifying. Gandalf even seems to imply something along those lines when he says there is a devilry devised for our welcome. He hasn't given us any details about it, right? But anyway, so we have this low archway and the growing light, but we still have all of our sensory input that we're getting throughout that paragraph is still, in a sense, secondhand. Yeah, doorward gas fires is what I was primarily thinking of. Though again, with a gas fire, I still wouldn't think that the phrase "the lower levels are on fire," like the levels are on fire, is still not how I would necessarily describe that. But yeah. Anyway. Yes, the possibility of coal fires. Several people are talking about. Sure, yeah, no, absolutely, that can happen. It is possible. But yeah, exactly. To Juice Man, you wouldn't get a smoldering fire with underground gases. Yeah, no, not exactly. Look what Gandalf does. We get all this sensory information, but we get no direct input. What is through the archway? The company doesn't see, we don't see. Right? All of the sensory input, but it's all indirect. And then, when he came to the arch, Gandalf went through, signing to them to wait. As he stood just beyond the opening, they saw his face lit by a red glow. Quickly, he stepped back. Once again, we get indirection. This time we see the red light glowing on Gandalf's face. So they're watching Gandalf. Gandalf can see. Okay, I think I now know what on the left means. At least I have a theory what on the left means. This is the second hall. Away beyond the eastern end on the left, not more than a quarter of a mile. The road is sloping down towards this archway, but they can't see what's through the archway. That proves that the archway is on the side of, like, the road doesn't lead straight up to the archway, or they'd be seeing through it as they approached, but they can't see through it. However, they can see the light on Gandalf's face. So clearly, they're coming to the end of a hall, right? The road comes to an end. So there's a blank wall in front of them, and the doorway is on the left-hand side. So when you go to the end of this hall, you would turn left. On your left, you will see the second hall of Old Moria stretching out in front of you. So they've got to take a 90-degree turn. That's why Gandalf in the front, he says, you stay back where you can see the red glow, but you can't see through the doorway. I'm going to walk forward and stand in the doorway, and I'm going to be looking out then into the hall. And you will see the red light on my face. You'll be seeing my face in profile, right, as you look down the hall, and you'll be seeing my face. And you'll see the red glow on my face, but you won't see out, right? So I think that's what he means by on the left. Way beyond the eastern. So from where he's facing them, where they're all standing, facing towards the end of the road, to their left-hand side is where the second hall is. Yeah, exactly. The arch... Well, no, the road faces south. So the road is facing south, and at the end of the hall, on the eastern side of the hall, is the archway that leads out into the hall, which extends off to the east. Then, I think that's what he's describing. He's saying on the left because he's preparing them, like, when you get to the archway, you're going to turn left and go that way. So as soon as you go, like, through that arch, once you pass through this arch, go straight until you find sunlight, essentially. Yes, Gildallowin, you are correct that this would mean technically that the road slopes swiftly south. Yes, it kind of would. Um, yes. Um, I agree, Jackie, with your point that the light, um, his face lit by a red glow, is a little ominous. It is a little ominous, but I think the emphasis here. Remember what happened in the Chamber of Mizarble, right? The drums, the drums go off, and what happens? Immediately, Aragorn, Boromir, Gandalf spring into action. Slam the doors and wedge them. There's Boromir working on the door. Gandalf says, wait a second, right? And he sticks his own head through the crack in the door, which is made of stone, of course, not wood like in the films, so that he can see through, defy their enemies. This impulse of Gandalf's to put himself in harm's way, to put himself between the company and danger. Whatever is happening with the fire, it's probably not good, one would think. Yeah, Silk Westgate, we'll get to the trench. This is the stuff I've been excited to figure out because as I said, I don't feel like I've ever really understood the sequence of what's going on here. So I'm looking forward to continuing that next time. But again, I would emphasize Gandalf's impulse to put himself between them and danger. He's the one who sticks his head out the door. He's the one who stands at the other door, making them all go downstairs so that he can hold the door behind them. He's the one who steps forward into the doorway to confront whatever flaming thing is there. And Luke, I agree. I think that Boromir would appreciate that the kind of leadership that Gandalf is showing there. Yeah, I certainly think that he would. Note that although on the one hand, Gandalf, when he stands in the doorway and looks through, doesn't respond in panic. That is to say, like, what he's facing is not, I don't know, a fire-breathing dragon staring at him. Like, he doesn't react that way. He does call it, to return to where we began, a devilry. There is some new devilry here, devised for our welcome. Some cunning, malicious, quite likely sorceress thing has been done in order to cunningly entrap them or defend against them. And he immediately emphasizes, but I know now where we are. He doesn't say anything more about the fire. Notice, he doesn't say like, okay, all right, let me explain. He doesn't tell them what he sees. He's just like, something's up and it's not good. But good news. I know where we are and we are so close to being out. Yeah, Arnas, I agree. Everything that Gandalf's whole demeanor here, including the hobbitry, seems to me to suggest that he doesn't see an immediate threat. Again, there's no fiery creature standing right inside the doorway, for instance, right? Yeah, not great, not terrible. Yes, Jackie with the Chesterton quote about courage being a contradiction in terms. Yes, it's a great quote. It means a strong desire to live taking the form of a readiness to die. Yeah, that's a wonderful, that's from Orthodoxy, isn't it? Yeah. G.K. Chesterton. Yes. We will see next time what the fire is. And as I say, Sokoeskin, I'm really looking forward to exploring the description. But Gandalf's emphasis, he's like, okay, there's some bad news, but it's mostly good news, actually. I know where we are, and where we are is almost out. Remember in the context, because we could read more of the book than Gandalf did, we know a little bit more than the company does about what happened to Balin's company. But even from what Gandalf read to them, we know that the orcs fought their way in. They held the bridge against the orcs. And when the orcs took the bridge, we cannot get out. Right? That was the next, like, that was when they became trapped, and they could only desperately try to see if they could possibly make it through the Holland Gate. But the water was up to the wall, and the Watcher took Owen. That means if once the company can get across the bridge, they're almost home free. Right? By extension, they can get out if they can cross the bridge. And he's like, the bridge is right there, away beyond the eastern end. This hall you're gonna see, the end of that hall, that's where the bridge is. And once we're across there, it's all downhill at that point, right? This is what Gandalf is emphasizing. And it really does sound, Jack, I think as you said before, like at this point, it really seems like they're going to make it. They're going to escape. Even Gandalf seems to hope for it. But then he does allude back to the bad news. I think that the most ominous word, in a sense, devilry is pretty ominous, but the other most ominous word in this paragraph is in the last sentence, the word but. So he's just given the directions. Not far, quarter of a mile, cross the bridge, plain road, can't miss it, go straight, wide stairs, big road, gates, sunshine, no problems. And then he says, but come in luck. But about that devilry, there is there's some devilry which we may have to deal with first. Come and see what I haven't told you about. And we still don't know what that is, what the devilry is, what fire, what is the Hosh that the orcs were referring to. Keep in mind, there's no Balrog here. I mean, okay, like there is one, but it's not here. Gandalf isn't seeing it. This is one of the things you'll remember in the film. Look, I don't want to criticize the film scene too much because it's really good. Like, the Balrog Gandalf confrontation on the bridge is an enormously successful scene in that film. But I like the book scene better. However, the main thing that I want to emphasize, the differences. Because, of course, because that scene in the film was right. And I'm giving a but. Yes, but come and look. Right, that's what I will say. But come and look. But because that scene in the film is so successful, it is one of those scenes that can influence your reading of the text if you're not careful. Remember that as they approach the bridge of Khazad-dûm in the film, they are running from something. There is something with huge thudding footsteps. You hear the Balrog, the roar of the Balrog. They see the fire come, and the fire is clearly approaching them. It is a creature of flame. That's how the fire is introduced. And you hear the footsteps, and you hear the roar, and Gandalf says, "Run." And they go running off towards the bridge. Right? That's how the chase scene. So as they approach, the whole time, the entire context that the film gives you for their last run towards the bridge, their final sprint towards the bridge, is we are running away from a monster. We haven't seen the monster yet in full. It's not been fully revealed. The reveal of the Balrog is very effectively done in the film. But the entire context of that sequence is there's a monster chasing them and they're running away from it. That is not the case here. That is not the case here at all. That's the important context that I want to make sure that we are remembering. There's fire, but it isn't a creature. Gandalf, what is Gandalf thinking? Is an interesting question. Gandalf knows that he just met something real serious. He has never felt such a challenge in his life. The counterspell was terrible. He has just had a spiritual arm wrestling match with something that completely whooped him. He knows there's something here. He knows. He said maybe something else is buried there too. I think he was trying to be encouraging. Maybe whatever that horrifying thing was that almost destroyed me was fortuitously killed in the falling in of the ceiling of the chamber of Mizarbo. I don't think that he thinks that at all. Kurtzimus asks, I wonder if he thinks that Sauron is there. That seems ridiculously unlikely, doesn't it? But Gandalf, it has to have crossed Gandalf's mind. What could it be? That thing that he was just fighting with up there. I mean, there's got to be a short list, right? Kurtzimus, I agree. I mean, if he's just doing a really rude process of elimination, he's got to be contemplating that possibility. Because there just aren't that many things in Middle-earth. Now, what it really is, I think, is something he is not thinking of. I think it's pretty clear that when Gandalf sees that it's the Balrog, as we're getting there, right? When it is revealed to Gandalf the identity of the thing, I think it's pretty clear that Gandalf is surprised. He did not think that. That was not his theory. So still now, Gandalf does not know what that thing was. But it was, metaphysically speaking, huge. There is no way, Sauron himself is no, I mean, his arm has grown long and all that, but surely Sauron himself in person isn't here? Can't be. No way. But it isn't clear to me what else would be on that list. Is it possible that he thought it was a dragon? I think that's possible. I mean, that would be on the list, potentially. A dragon? Don't know. Gollum the Great. I doubt it. Could the other wizards make the list? Well, Trifle Saruman is an attractive candidate for some reasons. Could it have been Saruman himself? Yeah, I think Saruman's on the list. Yeah. Why would Saruman be there? I don't know. I don't think Gandalf would know either, but if he were toe-to-toe with Saruman, he could... Saruman is probably capable of a pretty terrible counterspell, I would think. I mentioned Saruman as being a really good candidate because, of course, again, in the early drafts of this chapter, it was Saruman. So yeah, that's not a bad suggestion at all. Could be Sauron. Could be Saruman. Maybe a dragon. But, I mean, there aren't that many candidates, I think. But Gandalf still doesn't know. Could be some kind of unknown creature, which is even more terrifying. So, Gandalf knows that there is some very seriously powerful creature. I think that that's clearly in his mind when he says there is some new devilry here devised for our welcome. Remember that phrase, almost exactly the same as was used of Saruman when the steam is rising from the Wizard's Veil, right? Some devilry that he is brewing up for our welcome. That was Theoden, wasn't it? In fact, if you wanted to, you could potentially make the argument that by using the word devilry, that betrays the fact that Gandalf is most likely thinking of either Sauron or Saruman as being the creature that he's up against. As, again, those words are used, especially of Saruman, it seems very likely that, that essentially wizardry, sorcery, is one of the things he's expecting. You know, when Gandalf is coming down the hallway and he's seeing the fiery glow and he's like, okay, what am I expecting? Wizardry. I know I was facing somebody who knows a heck of a counterspell, right? So if something weird is happening down here, yeah. So I think that he's not sure how to interpret, in part, what he sees. And he certainly isn't quite sure what to expect. But I think he's clearly expecting to meet, again, whoever it was that he briefly encountered through that flimsy seeming door at the top of the stairs. Tune in next time when we when we get the description of the second hall and we go with them and look. Again, notice what's one of the things that I have found so delightful about this whole section from the Chamber of Mizarble on, how much of that sensory imagery we're getting, how persistently Tolkien has placed us as readers in the position of the company, almost never telling us anything beyond their own sensory experience, their often very limited sensory experience at the time, right? Even the invitation at the end, come and look. He's going to give us a description, right? But he doesn't give us a description until he tells us, but come and look. And we're about to come and look, and we're going to see, right? And that's really fun. I agree, Andrew, that the narrator is almost never truly omniscient. That's true. I do think because of the sensory limitations in Moria, especially the darkness, of course. I think there's been much more focus on it, both because of the sensory limitations and because of the fear in which the hobbits have been sort of locked ever since the drums started booming, right? Booming and dooming. Remember all of those, like, the feet in the hallway outside the chamber of Mizarbo, the vibrations in the walls, now the glow on the walls. We get sensory input from the perspective of the characters all the time in The Lord of the Rings, but most of the time that just means we're being told what they see. And so we're not as presently aware, we're not reminded so much that the input that we're being given, the descriptions that are being filtered through the perceptions of the characters. But it's been very, very noticeable in this chapter, in these passages. I think that's been really cool. Okay. But we will stop there. Next time we will see what we see through the archway. Don't forget that Thursday night, I'm going to be doing the launch event for the fall fundraising campaign. Tune in here on Twitch or on YouTube at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm going to tell you all about our fundraising campaign plans, and then I'm going to go on to do my randomized literary discussion game, which is great fun. So we'll do that on Thursday evening, and it's field trip time. Thanks to those of you who are just able to join us for our book discussion. And we will move forward. I should be here next week, by the way. Am planning on class next week, so we hope to see you next week for the second hall of the second hall of Old Moria. And we will switch over to the game. Good evening, folks. We're heading back to the Flaming Deeps because I hear that the lower levels are on fire.
Very much on fire.
Yep, all kinds of fire. Though notice that in Lotro, when they kind of seized upon that line and, kind of made it literal, they did it in the lava and generally not flames sense.
Yeah, they tend to do that actually a lot.
Yeah, well, it's interesting, and by the way, I don't mean this in any way critically. That is, I'm not saying they took that line out of context in the Lord of the Rings Online. No, yeah, of course they did. They do that kind of thing. That is to say, when they are, it's a very noticeable trend in the adaptation that they make when they are making stuff up. One of the ways in which they often will do the making up of things, because they've got tons of blanks they need to fill, right, in The Lord of the Rings Online, such as the Kingdoms of Harad, for instance, which we're getting soon.
Oh, yeah.
When they have to make stuff up, when they're in places that Tolkien never described, or they're filling out places where the story doesn't go, they've just got to make stuff up. So on what principles do they make stuff up? One of the things one of these things that you can see that they really like to do is to seize upon sometimes a single word, sometimes a phrase, sometimes a sentence, and use that essentially as sort of inspiration. It's not that they believe, when they depict the Flaming Deeps, where we are going in just a minute, it's not like they're saying, yes, this is exactly what Gandalf is describing. They're saying, we want to describe some lower levels. And in the book, Gandalf says the lower levels are on fire. So, hey, let's have some lower levels that are on fire. Let's run with that. Taking concepts like that from the book and just running with them in those ways. Again, it's something you can see them doing again and again. And I find that really fun. So, Andrew, by the way, I don't think we're not going to get to You Cannot Pass by Thanksgiving for sure. Thanksgiving is only 3 or 4 classes away, and You Cannot Pass is 7 slides away. So, Thanksgiving, no. Christmas, probably.
The Christmas break, anyway.
Yeah. Yep, I think Christmas is probable. The Bridge of Khazad-dûm will be our Christmas present this year. Gandalf dies for New Year's. No, I think he might die at Christmas time.
The time has come to drive forth the orcs
Maybe
from
by
our
New
kingdom.
Year's. Maybe we'll do the whole ball dropping thing after all. Okay, Hood no
Wizard
Maiden. The wizard drop.
Speaking of Alotro, just real quick, I would like to point out that Corey needs raid posse people on
That's true.
Friday
That's true.
for his Grifflet stream. You need to be at least 115 able to do stuff in Mordor.
I am
And-
one step away from finishing the from collecting all of the lore books from Mordor, and I insist on getting it. So I have to do the Abyss of Mordoth. And that's a full 12 man, isn't it?
It is a full 12 person raid,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And we are short a number of hands. I am 2 steps away from asking folks at Standing Stone to actually help us out and nuke things for us.
Oh, well. We'll see. I'm sure
If we can find
figure it out.
somebody who'd be willing, I'll ask Cordova tomorrow.
I'm sure we can figure it out.
Yeah.
We can recruit some more folks. I can attempt for Griffith to be useful. I was a little bit useful. I wasn't very useful, but I was a little bit useful. Okay, so last time we were exploring that we found the blue collar housing, which is remote but beautifully situated across over the corner over there. We have the stairway that leads straight to the waterworks over there. And so we have this whole hall. So we're finished with this whole hall, and I think this might be our final. As we approach the levels that are on fire in the book, we are almost completely done with. We are almost completely done with the Flaming Deeps. So let us go north from here and see what lies through this interestingly shaped archway, because I think this area is the last part of the Flaming Deeps we haven't been to. All right, so we come down the hallway here. This got like this pool is interesting. It's got sort of strangely domestic fairly quickly.
I wonder if I can fish in it.
Let's just peek up here, because that looks like an Aerofer. I betcha. Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
It is indeed.
So we have one of our shaftway. Ooh. Look at this little alcove business here. We've got
The weird brazier.
yeah, I guess brazier.
Or is it a
I don't know.
ceremonial forge?
I mean, it looks almost like an altar. Sitting here in front of that statue like that. Now the statue is a generic statue. Like we've seen
Yeah, it is.
that statue dozens of times. If the statue were more special,
That would explain it on some level.
right. But I can't imagine somebody setting up an altar before that particular statue. Again, they've never had altars
Unless it was
before.
their specific relative. that's
Right.
for-
JJ says he was going to go with grill. Yes, it could also be a grill. One cannot deny. Seems one might be able to use it as a grill, but it looks like an altar. What can we see? What does it have on it? Is it a dwarvish altar? It's certainly not an orcish altar. It's got leaves all over the place.
Elven?
Yeah. Super weird. Maybe they outsourced it. Maybe this was a gift. Look at those corners. There's like fangish sort of like the raven beak kind of hooked corners. Huh. I don't ever remember seeing vine leaf decorations like this. Okay, so I have so my theory, here's my theory. My theory is that this brazier, altar, something was a gift from an elf, but it's like an embarrassing gift that they put off in this little side antechamber. Like it might have been re-gifted.
Kind of hide it, yeah.
Yeah, it's like an elf matham, right, that ended up here. Because nobody
makes sense.
really wants it.
To get out of the way. Yeah, that way you can't tell a lie and say, oh, we have it, and you get away.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they have it, it's just nobody does it.
And you could probably convince a particularly gullible elf that it was placed put in a place of honor.
Yep, I can see that.
Because, I mean, it looks fairly impressive when you come around the corner here. Right? You come around the corner and you see that standing in front of that impressive statue and you're like, ah, yes, this is a solemn hall in which, like, this is, you know, in which, like, we, like, remember our ancestors and like, you know, your gift is, like, extremely meaningful to us. And all the other dwarfs are, like, rolling their eyes behind his back and everything because everybody knows this is, in fact, just an out-of-the-way dead-end corridor that they've hidden it in because they don't like it. Now, Emily, I don't know how much danger there is of an elf coming to check, but you never know. I mean, we've seen elvish influence in other places, but rarely something that looks so much like an actual elvish artifact. It might not be, but yeah, I just don't remember seeing anything carved with vine leaves like this. Even the bottom part, which is just in sort of shapes, doesn't look like dwarf shapes. Yeah. Oh, see, look, it's a symmetrical. We got another little matching alcove they didn't even bother putting a regifted table in. It's possible, Auru, that it's of sorceress origin, but it doesn't, like, you know, Dol Guldur stuff doesn't really get decorated with vine leaves either.
It has a very different set of decor at Dol Guldur, as we'll eventually find.
Yeah.
5 years from now.
Oh, yeah, we'll get there. It could be something that they pinched. I don't know. I like the regifted
Elven
idea.
fruitcake. It's basically fruitcake.
Yeah.
I don't want it. You have it. I don't want it. You take it.
Because especially since, like, seriously, who gives a dwarf a big table or they're like, we have. No, really, you shouldn't have. I mean, you actually shouldn't have. What really puzzles me is why do we get white name text here at this intersection? Or why is this a place that shows up on the map? Like, it's just this one Erifer here and 2 dead-end corridors. Why does this have a name?
Unless there's a doorway here for somebody important.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible that these apparently dead-end corridors, but, like, it doesn't even have this short little ledge with it. That doesn't look like it's got fake doors in it. I mean, I know they're not made to be seen when shut and all that, but okay, right. And then, right, so people are trying to suggest maybe there is something important in here, and this is the jacuzzi. Maybe. I don't know. Let's see what's down this corridor. Maybe it will help. Okay, now we've got. See, that's what the bad guys do when they make an altar. No vine leaves here. But ignoring the recent decor, what do we have here? What we have here is the named area that showed up in that hallway back there.
So this is the name that it belongs to.
Yeah, this is the name it belongs to. And by the way, isn't this more or less right on the other side of that?
Yeah, it is actually.
Yeah. So there's another reason to think that there was no door and, housing behind it, because it was just a wall. This, like, on the other side of this wall is that statue.
And this one is definitely not an Airfur. It is an actual.
Right. Well, that's
fireplace.
what the Iron Garrison is using it for. I could imagine that it would also make a useful sort of, fireplace for them to use.
Would have a chimney.
Yeah.
But they would know the original purpose, or at least have a better guess of what the original purpose was than the orcs would.
Yeah. And you could see why they built an Airfur here, because look at these fumes. This is nasty.
Yeah, they should call it the fuming deep and not the flaming deep, because there's some flames, but the fumes are way more than the flames.
Yeah, we got some flames right over here, but again, it's lava that we're seeing. Oh, look at this. We got some forging action over here. We got some
I really dig the
molding?
Eye of Sauron Dreamcatcher.
The Eye of Sauron Dreamcatcher next to the altar. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's cute.
And I don't know what to think about the cauldron with the spikes coming out at the top of it.
Oh, up there? It's repurposed. So this is like, so you remember
I do.
the pool area, right? The combination smelting and recreational swimming zone that was up at the northeast corner of the spa.
Yep.
They did this there too. So that's clearly dwarvish construction, and the spikes are clearly a later addition. See, they've added an extraneous Eye of Sauron to this as well.
To remind whose house it
Exactly.
is now.
So yeah, they thought they would improve that, which just shows that they don't even know how to use it, right? Because that pot up there is clearly for, melting down metals and then pouring into a mold. But they don't even know what they're doing. And by the way,
obviously
the
not,
same is
because
true
if you're pouring
of the...
something. There's no funnel for it.
Yeah.
These spikes are just spikes. They're rounded. They're not grooved or anything.
Yes. And the dream catchers are the same. So the stone structure was clearly from the dwarves. And they put the wooden frame Sauron Eye Dreamcatcher on top of it. Because they're
Very
like, oh,
stylistic though.
let's
Very
just use
artistic.
this as a base for our own, worshipful decorations or whatever.
I wonder two things: how they got so artsy with the lighter wood and the darker wood of the Dreamcatcher, and also how the Dreamcatchers are not catching on fire themselves, because that's an open forge below that.
Well, I think it's not. I think it's not like on. I think it's not burnt. I think that originally this was used as like a little forge. But I think it's not hot right now.
Okay, it's just kind of glowy.
It's just, yeah. I guess it's just meant to show like residual, because you've got your anvil right here. Yeah, here's your anvil. You got your anvil right here, right? So you can go and you can touch some things up over there. So that's why there are these stone little pedestals, right, to hold some glowing coals. So you can do a little forge, or to fix up or attach things to whatever you're molding over there with the big old pot. So this is clearly a work area here. Oops, thought there were stairs there. Classic Moria blunder. Yeah, kitty forges. Here's another one.
I mean, they're dwarf-sized forges.
Yeah, no, I don't think they're really like mini, but it's kitty in the sense of like they're not like the huge, massive forges that we see elsewhere.
True.
The little stone pedestals are mini.
I'm just thinking of these, giant, gosh high, using little itty bitty anvils, and trying not to smash them with every hit of their hammer.
Right. So here's this is of course an orc grill, which we've seen before, and they're burning things in the arifers here as well.
That's gonna help them with the ventilation for sure.
Yeah, see, on this side we get two arifers.
Some bedding, bunk beds, and regular beds.
Bunk beds, yeah. It's a little hard to tell. Were these here? I mean, it's possible that this is a nap area, over here on this side. That's conceivable.
Are orcs allowed to take naps? That's a good question.
Look at that slope down. That slope down leads one to suspect that the magma didn't used to be this high.
I'm noticing the magma actually has a pattern on it, like it's moving.
Oh yeah, it's moving. It's definitely kind of flowing around. But anyway, yeah, as I say, that ramp is interesting because there's no reason to build a ramp down to the magma unless you're using the magma. Is that what they put in the little... Wait a second, hang on. I'm developing a theory. Hang on. Where's the nearest little the Dreamcatcher things? I'll go back up here. There's one up here. Because if we look back into these little stone pedestals, see, you know what I think that is cooled magma.
Yep.
So I think that instead of using coals, because there's one of the things about using this as a forge is that you couldn't you couldn't actually, like, there's no bellows or anything with it. So, and yes, JJ, I totally think you're right about them turning making them into the forge over there into little Sauron busts. So that's why they put the spikes on the top, because it makes it look like a crown. I think you're right. But in any case, both of those things, both the pot, obviously, like the smelting pot or whatever, and this little thing, were functional for the dwarves. So yeah, I think that they actually scooped like the magma up and came and put it up here so that you could use it. I'm not sure what you use it for. I mean, I'm not a dwarf. I don't know. How am I supposed to know? But that's what it looks like. It looks like cooled down magma. That's why it's all cracked and stuff. So you would come up here and you would, like, very carefully, presumably with some long-handled implement, like, get some and put it up in there. I don't know how you do that. I don't know what you do it with. But again, not a dwarf. I don't know. How am I supposed to know? But that's what it looks like. That's what it looks like. I'm just trying not to fall in. Okay. Because then I think on this other side, we get the same kind of deal. Air of Furs. Ooh, special little platform. We didn't get this on the other side. They have we've got like the boss orc standing over here. And this high platform, they've made a little Sauron totem. So it's hard to tell what might have been there. I'm guessing that there was already there's like some kind of plinth there, some kind of base.
I bet if like two things around it.
Yeah, I bet if you knock down the Sauron totem here,
there'd be something under it.
There'd be something under it. It was built on a dwarvish foundation. I think some kind of stone platform or other. That
maybe an obelisk.
Possibly. It could be, the whole thing could be built around an obelisk. Let's see, is there any evidence? Can we see anything peeking out? I can't both get close enough and high enough, really.
In time with this season, it's a scare orc.
Right. Well, it's, I mean, in construction a little bit, yeah. Yeah, so, I think if we imagine there's a platform there, you could put a throne-ish platform there. You could put an obelisk, but I don't think it's an obelisk. The reason I don't think it's an obelisk is that this is a workspace. This whole room is a workspace. So, but this seems like this whole platform, this spot is special. In the whole architecture of the room, this is the seat of honor, clearly.
Yeah, this one seems to be bigger than the other ones.
Yeah. So, and you've got 4 of the little magma pots around here. It could be something like an overseer's chair. It could be a special forge or something.
Sacrificial platform?
Possibly, but
see the scary statue and they get thrown into the lava.
Oh yeah, look at the huge head looking out right over the platform here too. So yeah, if you were up there on either standing or sitting on the pedestal where that Sauron is, that thing would be like right behind you. You'd be framed by that. That would be awesome. That would look great. So yeah, this is clearly the important spot. Whether you sat here to look impressive and like supervise people, or whether you...
And look up.
Yeah. Wait, what? Look up?
Come back to the platform and look in the opposite direction on the wall.
Okay. All right. Hang on.
Ginormous dwarfy beard. So this is important to the dwarves too. Because, the orcs didn't build the platform.
Oh, wait, look up behind it, like in the direction. Yeah. That's what I was just looking at. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like from when you're looking at the platform from the other side, you'd be framed against that thing. It's awesome. Yep, exactly. So yeah, I was just looking around the corner here. Don't see anything. There's nothing much over here. Another Aerifer. Another one
basically
or two
back
of those.
the way we came almost.
Yeah, exactly. And I think these stairs are the ones we came down first, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, around the corner. No, this one's a dead end. Must be the next one up. Okay. All right.
It's one in the middle.
Yes. So now I want to go over to the far side, and I want to look back across at the. So let's go to this platform over here. From here now, yep. Look at that. We're gonna have a line of sight to that Sauron thing from everywhere, because that's the focal point. Yeah.
Jinx.
Yep. Exactly. So here, there. Yep. Everywhere is going to be. So who's ever sitting there is going to be looking down on everybody else.
Definitely
the little mini Sauron here is a stupid idea.
Yeah, it's not even centered.
Right. See, look at this. You stand right here between the columns and you look out, and there would that like dwarf overseer dude be right under the, like the, in the middle of the beard of that face. That would be awesome. And then you'll be able to see him. I wonder how well you can see him from the end. Bet you can see him from over here too. That's why it sticks out over the pool. And well, lots of haze. You can see it there. You can see it better from over here, I bet you. Yeah. Yep. See there, you got it. You got a clear line of sight back to him from here also. So yeah, he's all over the place. Okay, that's really interesting. It's clearly a very prominent place. But again, it's prominent over, I mean, it's tempting to say overseer because everybody's working. Look at that. Perfect line of sight from the side also. Yep. Yeah. So, but I don't think, like, it doesn't give me overseer vibes. Like, this is not a place necessarily where he is watching over you. It's where you can see him, I think. That's why, look at that. I didn't even notice before until I got up to that platform. But from here you can see how, like, look at how it's just like a shelf built out.
Yeah, it's not solid. I didn't notice that before.
Yeah. Maybe it's for the band to play to keep up their morale while they work, but I think their morale would be naturally high when they were working. Interesting. That's a fascinating little piece of dwarf culture right there. It's possible. I doubt they would have music or a storyteller or something, because it would be too noisy and too far away anyway. Let's go. I think if we come back through here, we get back to a familiar place, right? Yes. This is where we started.
Back at the main Flaming Deeps.
Yes, indeed. It is possible, JJ, that it could be a purely practical platform. JJ is suggesting maybe there was some kind of crane or winch to draw up the lava from there. It's possible, but the line of sight thing seems to me too deliberate. I think it's meant to be a place of prominence. But okay, so if this area is our, like, sort of central urban zone for this part of Moria, if it's part of Khazad-dûm, we had these major, not the mining, the mines are in the other direction, but this is to like that major work area. I think it's basically sort of like attached to the town, right? That's where you can go. That's where you would go to work, and you know, you get this this major work area right through here. Emma Thorne, I think it must smell horrible down here, just dreadful, really. I mean, all those fumes. Yeah, you got the huge work hall. If you keep going through and take a right, you'll get to that place where we put that ridiculous elf altar. Yeah, there must be lots of sulfur in the air. I think that the dwarves down here must have been quite inured to it, I would think. All right. Well, this was a fun haul, and we have indeed officially been everywhere in the Flaming Deeps.
Yep.
So next time, waterworks, yeah?
I should hope so.
So yeah, we will head straight to the same stable master, and then we'll go through into the waterworks and see if we can find a new we'll head up. Hey, we got a milestone and a stable master right inside the waterworks.
Swift stable master now that they've overhauled the stable network in Moria. Thank you, Scenario.
So we'll begin with the waterworks next time. But yeah, we'll stay with the same milestones now. The first thing we will do next time will be to go through and get the new stable master and milestone. But for now, we shall return to the Flaming Deeps one more time. All right. Thank you, everybody. I will see you guys next week. We'll need to get back to the second hall soon, of course, but I'm going to wait until we get to the first hall, and then we'll once the company gets out of Moria, then we'll go back and we'll look at the second hall and the bridge and the first hall and stuff. Because they're going to run through the first hall pretty quickly. So anyway, all right. Thank you very much, everybody. I will see you guys soon. See you guys either tomorrow night or maybe Thursday night or maybe Friday or maybe Saturday. All right.
You're busy this week.
It's a busy week. All right. Thanks, everybody. Good night now.
Bye.